Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life, and in today's video, I wanted to give you guys a small coverage comparison between T-Mobile and Sprint. Both carriers updated their coverage maps. Sprint's is now more accurate, has 800 megahertz included on the coverage. T-Mobile, still the same coverage, but they have added more coverage that they actually expanded into. So definitely a good comparison. So what you see here, the orange is 3G, the yellow is LTE, and the light gray, that's roaming on Verizon. So as you can see, this is a stretch that I've actually driven from El Paso to San Antonio. Sprint covers that entire way with 3G and LTE. There is no roaming on that stretch of the I-10 whatsoever. Now, if you do have to get off the I-10 into the little cities that are in between, you still have coverage with Sprint. I had to stop at a gas station in a little town, so but it is roaming, and that type of roaming, you will be roaming on Verizon's 1X network, and it is just calling and texting. So there, as you can see, there's still a very large area that Verizon covers. So even though Sprint doesn't have native coverage in those areas, you are still able to talk and text in those areas. You can also load data, but very, 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 very slow. It takes a long time for that to load. So definitely keep that in mind. So I just wanted to point that out to you guys. I've driven that entire stretch, and I had service the entire way, and 3G was very usable. I was able to stream Pandora. It's 3G, as most of you know, is nothing crazy as far as speeds, but it was still very usable along the stretch. I was able to send pictures, call, text. So don't necessarily feed into all that LTE stuff. I know Sprint needs to convert these towers over to LTE, but if that highway is not very busy and there's not a lot of traffic going through those towers, 3G will still work, and like I said, very usable. So eventually they will upgrade those towers to LTE, but for now, that stretch is very well covered for Sprint, and this is just from personal experience, so I am using my experience to back up the coverage map and what it says. So that's why I picked this stretch. I will eventually drive up the Interstate 20, so I will also see if that stretch is comparable to the coverage map. So also here, this is the T-Mobile on that same stretch. The black circles that you see, that's roaming on AT&T. So along the stretch, as I was driving, there was a big part of the stretch where I had no service. So as you can see, it looks like that stretch is filled in with coverage, but for most part of the stretch, I had no service or I was roaming on AT&T. Back then, when I traveled this stretch, it wasn't too long ago, but it was quite a while ago. I was roaming on AT&T Edge, which is now shut off. 2G is shut off, so I would be roaming on their HSPA Plus network at reduced speeds. So, and the other two I can't really confirm because I didn't drive to these areas. I'm just going based on the coverage map. It says there's roaming in that area, but that stretch along the I-10, I can confirm no service and roaming on AT&T. Roaming on AT&T was just calling and texting for most part. Data loaded very, very slow, and then also at the beginning when I passed Clint, I was also roaming on a Mexican carrier. I forgot. I think it was. I forgot the name of it, but I was also roaming on a Mexican carrier. So just wanted to point that out. I haven't driven that stretch since, so T-Mobile could have actually filled these areas in where it shows coverage, but on that stretch I did not have coverage. So overall, on that stretch, when I last drove on that stretch, Sprint had better coverage across the board. Now I'm not saying this goes for all of the United States, but on that stretch, that I-10 stretch, Sprint covered it better than T-Mobile. So I just wanted to point that out, that I know it's 3G, Sprint still has a decent coverage. You know, it's not LTE, it's nothing crazy, but its coverage is still there on that stretch. So, and I know for the rural areas, which I'll get to next, it's a little different, but you know, we're gonna check that out as well. So, as you can see here, let me zoom in a little bit. There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of light gray. So in these areas, you know, you have no choice but to roam on Verizon. So, of course, as you can see, there's a lot more orange now since they've updated it more accurately. So there's still a lot of 3G out there for Sprint to convert over to LTE. I don't know if I couldn't confirm with you guys. I know Sprint is currently upgrading their network vision footprint. So where they have the network vision LTE, they're doing the band 41. They're adding the new transmitters and all that stuff. But I couldn't tell you. I haven't seen, and I'll do some research, I haven't seen any heavy 3G to LTE conversions like when they first started network vision. So I don't know if they're still converting sites over, if that's still in the budget. I can't confirm that. I would have to look into it. So as you can see, there's an area off to the side here that's dark gray. That's actually extended LTE. So what that means is that area will actually allow you to roam on Verizon's LTE network. So there's two parts to the roaming. The one part is the light gray, which is the 1X, which is just for call and text pretty much. And then on that dark gray area is extended LTE that will allow you to roam on Verizon's LTE network. Sometimes I've been reported that a person was in an area where Sprint had this dark gray and they weren't picking up any LTE. They were on Verizon, but it wasn't LTE. So maybe with this coverage update, it's more accurate. But as you can see, you know, it's, you know, I hate to say it, and I'm sure a lot of you guys that have Sprint don't like to see this, but there's still tons of roaming out there that they have not expanded in any way. There has been not one bit of network expansion other than adding additional roaming with Verizon. I think they're adding, you know, I've heard that in Hobbs, New Mexico, they are adding band 25 there, and they're finishing up a few towers in Carlsbad, and they are finishing up a connection between Alamogordo and Ruidoso, I believe, to add network there. But on the big scale, I mean, we're not just talking little cities. On the bigger scale, as you can see, you know, that's a lot of roaming. And in these areas, like the West Coast, for instance, this is where T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T are just much better on their native network. Not saying you won't have coverage in these areas for a call and text, but you know, your money is probably better invested in the other companies in on the West Coast, because that's a lot of coverage. I mean, roaming, a lot of roaming. So also still a lot of 3G. So let me know in the comment section down below, you know, how you feel about this. Let me know your experience. Have you had a lot of roaming on Verizon? You know, let's just get interactive in the comment section. I will be dropping another video today after this one, so stay tuned. Give these videos a thumbs up. It keeps me motivated, keeps me going. Like, share, subscribe. And this is Tyrone with Tech Life, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.